Good evening, friends. Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and
This guy.
Wallace. This guy right here. Guys, Friday night. Good evening, everybody. I hope everyone had a great week. And I want to just say a special thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all the folks who engage in this great community. It's because of you that Ed and I are able to bring great content to you and have a great engaging conversation. So thank you so much for that. You guys know the real deal here. Ed and I have over 40 years of experience in law enforcement, New York City Police, retired detectives. He is a homicide, a retired first grade detective from the crime scene unit. I was thinking of Bill Cannon. I don't know why. That came right up into my head. And I am a retired detective from the Fugitive Enforcement Division in the Warrant Squad. So right out of the gate, Ed, we're going to talk about California City boys, Sincere and Classic, Orrin and Orson West, Trezell and Jacqueline West in prison, locked up, right now in jail, actually locked up where they belong, stand accused and charged of murder, second degree. A lot of sticking points about that second degree. People are just up in arms about it. They are awaiting trial. We're talking about May 28th for a trial start. Tentatively, we have the gag order hearing, I believe March 20-something, 23rd or something like that. It's coming up, I think, next week or in a week or two. And we are going to get into evidence collection. Everybody wants to know, how is the district attorney going to go at this case without recovering these two angels, these two little babies' bodies, the skeletal remains? Ed, it's an uphill battle, but something that it has been done in the past. It's not like it's a difficult task.
I've done it. Yeah, I've been involved in a national high-profile case involving the death of a millionaire. We never did find her body, but we got the convictions. So,
right. Yeah, and we heard the district attorney. She was very clear and concise about it. Many successful prosecutions and guilty verdicts with murder with no body recovered. So she did talk extensively. We're going to show a little bit of that. Before we get into everything, I just want to give you guys a little bit of background, again, on where we're at in the case. We know that they pled not guilty to all the charges. They were assigned public defenders at the courthouse. They're going to need time to review all of the evidence and things of that nature. So it's going to take some time. I mean, do you think this thing will go off May 28th as scheduled? I mean, a lot of times.
Well, if the district attorney seems like they're ready, but, the defense attorney is going to slow things down because they have to be able to digest all the discovery materials,
right,
and get their own experts, get their own private detectives. And if this is public defenders, then they have to get permission from the judge to hire these people, their private detectives and experts, because then we, the people, our tax dollars, will be paying for the defense team's experts and private detectives and so forth.
Right. Again, good point, Ed. When we were looking at this case over the past 14 months, and, I know that, for a period of the time you weren't around on the channel, and, you had a little bit of chance to kind of look back. So you kind of know what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
There was 48 search warrants, not just home searches, in California City, 48 devices and search warrant obtained. And warrants obtained could be for cell phones, could be separate just for electronics. It could be for searching living quarters and things of that nature. We saw the FBI with the FBI raid jackets and the California City Police, along with Bakersfield, over in the Aspen Drive home in California City.
Yes.
And then we also saw them at Grandma West's home.
Yes.
A combination of luminol for the vehicles, the cadaver dogs in and out of the home in Cal City and around.
Right.
We saw sonar, ground
penetrating radar.
Right, the ground penetrating radar, not the sonar that they use in the boats.
Right.
Caught up on
that side scanning sonar.
Right.
Okay.
So ground penetrating radar. We saw them. It looked like a old fashioned lawnmower. They were going over the lot. No stone being left unturned when it comes to the boys. But before we get into talking about evidence, which you are an expert at, We're going to talk about luminol. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things that they use and methods that were potentially utilized to make this a strong case going forward. But let's play this little piece for everybody so they can kind of get an idea of where we're at.
Development in the shocking case of Jacqueline and Trezell West, who this morning entered not guilty pleas in court to the 5 criminal charges filed against them for the disappearance and presumed death of their 2 adoptive sons. 17's Christian Galeno joins us live outside the Kern County Superior Court with the latest. So Christian, what happened in court this morning?
Yeah, Moses. Well, the West made their first appearance 48 hours after they were arrested about 17 miles west of Bakersfield, and about 24 hours since DA Cynthia Zimmer made that shocking announcement of the presumed death of boys Orrin and Orson West.
Will you give up that right so that your case can be set for trial on May 23rd, 2022?
This was the first time ever that the adoptive parents Jacqueline and Trezell West and a member of the biological family of Orrin and Orson West were in the same room.
This is the first time I've ever seen them physically, and it gives us a little more comfort to know that they arrested them. Just staring at them, man, I just, just how can y'all hurt these babies?
Are you Trezell West?
Trezell West is represented by Timothy Hennessy.
Jacqueline West? The defendant is present. She's in custody.
Jacqueline West by Alexia Torres Stallings. Prosecutor Eric Smith asked that all reports be sealed and a gag order issued, barring attorneys, investigators, and witnesses from publicly commenting on evidence. Court documents list the circumstances that the West now face, which may lead to harsher penalties. But with offense reports sealed, specific details will not be known until the trial starts.
Just interesting that they're showing them. There was just one camera allowed in the courtroom approved by the court and the judge. It was KGET 17 in Bakersfield. They were the only news outlet that was allowed to film inside the courtroom. But it's interesting to see them in these gray jumpsuits, separated with the 6 feet or 10 feet apart. Both of them represented by counsel. As we heard here, let's just let the rest of this play for you guys. This is Trezell and Jacqueline West in court on Wednesday.
Like if the West may have induced one of their children to help or assist in the crime.
The defendants are both in
Specific details will not be known until the trial starts. Details like if the West may have induced one of their children to help or assist in the crime.
The defendants are both a significant and substantial risk to the public safety.
Judge Chad Louie ordered both be held without bail and scheduled trial for May 23rd, but given that the defense counsel has only just been assigned, that date will likely be postponed.
I want to find the boys' bodies. That's what is going to give us closure. If something happens to them, we're not going to ever get closure. So we want to keep them as alive as possible because we need the bodies.
If convicted, the West faced 30 years to life on murder charges. Zimmer refused to say if anyone else was going to be arrested in this case. Law enforcement has not found the bodies of either of the missing boys.
They need to pay for what they did. There is monsters like the ones that are in court right now, but there's a lot of parents that are not the monsters. We love our kids. Kids should not be taken from a loving, caring home.
It feels good though to see them sitting there handcuffed in those brown suits or whatever. That's where they belong.
So I'll leave it at that right there. That's Trezell to the left and Jacqueline to the right. They look pretty, pretty kind of stone-faced, not, no expression. They're both covered with masks. Ed, any feelings on this?
Well, I'm glad they got remanded, no bail. So they're in the men's house of detention and the female's house of detention separately and apart, and probably in Gen Pop. And we just got to hope and pray that nothing happens to them while they're in those jails, because, typically inmates don't like child killers.
Correct.
Okay. So we need them to be alive. We want them to give up the location where they disposed of these 2 angels. And so we can go out there and find them and give them the proper burial and closure that they deserve.
You know, it's funny. I wanted to say how happy I was that the judge, as we saw there, the judge said to the court in his readings and his ruling, he said that Trezell and Jacqueline West are a flight risk. They have community ties, but they definitely were a flight risk, and that reverts right back to how they were apprehended in an RV, traveling off into like no man's land. And, you know, who knows how they were tipped off. I'm going to show a little bit of video that one of the news reporters took of them in a post office and in a convenience store. The video shows them, and I know you saw this, Ed, because you made a mention to me about it, but it showed them actually questioning and talking to him, thinking he was somebody else. And
yeah, the reporter didn't realize who he was talking to.
Didn't realize he was talking to Trezell himself. So who knows what kind of information was given up in that kind of conversation. But again, you know, this case is going to, if you think it's shocking now, when the opening statements from the prosecution and the defense start, the very day one is when opening starts, and when you hear that opening, I know that it will either be televised or it will be. A reporter will do a transcript, or they'll talk about it, depending. If the judge says, you know, nobody is to talk about this, the inner workings of the trial. It depends, you know.
You know what? I think a big part of why they put the gag order on speaking about the evidence is because the evidence mostly came from the minors. Okay. Sure. Okay, so the majority of the evidence of what happened and what took place in that household came from the children after they were removed. And to protect the children, to protect the case, they don't want to protect the suspects, the defendants now. They don't want that information out there so that everybody can hear it and taint the jury pool, taint the, get back to the prisoners in the detention cells. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to take a peek quickly with some of the folks, and then we're going to jump right into talking about evidence collection. But this is going to give a timeline from the beginning to a current day. It's going to just go over a brief, the timeline isn't detailed, so it's kind of like a brief timeline, but this is pretty decent. I think I want you guys to see this, and it will give some people a good idea of where we're at current. Up to date. So here we go.
To this point of the arrest, and when were the boys first? Now you might be wondering, how do we get to this point of the arrest, and when were the boys first reported missing? I took a look back at our coverage of the West boys and the events that led to today.
Where are the boys? Where are the boys? Where are the boys? Where are the boys?
It was December 21st, 2020.
I want to just say something. Like, people are saying, who are those kids saying, where are the boys? There was a rally and a march in the streets of California City, and I believe actually Bakersfield. And that march, they didn't show the file footage from it, but there was dozens of children, parents with their children, holding up signs, where are the boys? And that's what that chant was. So I just wanted to point that out. I've been obviously along on this case from the beginning. And that's what that audio was from, the actual protest walking through the streets of Bakersfield.
Orrin and Orson West, also known as Classic and Sincere, were first reported missing in California City by their adoptive parents, Trezell and Jacqueline West. Days after that time, the West parents telling 23 ABC they understand that people would accuse them of the disappearance.
And that's understandable.
What's your response to that?
That's understandable. I would think the same thing.
And the Cal City Police Chief John Walker assuring the community his department was looking for clues day in and day out at the start of the investigation.
We're just trying to dig up any clues that we can possibly find to find out where they had gone and also to confirm that they're not in the backyard.
The disappearance prompting a massive search effort involving not only Cal City Police, but the Bakersfield Police Department, the FBI, and the community. Then month after month, the community rallied together for searches, marches, and vigils, all to find the boys.
Where are the boys? No peace! No peace! Where are the boys? No boys!
And reward money for information and the return of the boys continued to grow in 2021 as local businesses, community members, and a private investigator joined the search efforts for the boys.
There was some elements that stood out about the foster families interviews that pretty much compelled me to participate and come out and do what we could.
This is the private investigator, Bill Garcia from San Diego. He came down and he was gung-ho, and somehow he was kind of discouraged from continuing on and doing his investigation. So this guy, Bill Garcia, came in and he was very aggressive in in what he was talking about with working on this case.
To help find both of these boys.
Billboards with the boys' faces and the rewards started to appear in February 2021.
So there's the billboards that we sponsored. Lamar, you can see the naming, the branding right here through the trees, Lamar Advertising. This is that humongous digital billboard that all of you here on Crime Time with DutyRon supported and kept going since February of last year. February and March last year, we started with that board.
Then thank you to the Patreons.
Yeah, Patreons, the channel members, and all the folks who sent in PayPal donations. And again, our channel memberships and Patreons are just so important for things just like this. So we continue to ask you to please support us through Patreon and channel memberships. It really works out well. And it was just amazing that we were able to do it for so long for these boys. So there it is. There's your money at work right there.
But after 8 weeks, Cal City.
That pretty much compelled me to participate and come out and do what we could to help find both of these boys.
Billboards with the boys' faces and the rewards started to appear in February 2021 in Kern County. But after 8 weeks, Cal City Police confirmed they have no suspects in the case. And March 1st, 2021, the Bakersfield Police Department officially took over the case. They continued the search in Cal City and Southeast Bakersfield for the boys, issuing a search warrant to the adoptive grandparents and more than 20 more search warrants in the case. It wasn't until June 2021, BPD gave an update on the case, announcing 170 items have been seized, 83 individuals have been interviewed, 44 search warrants have been conducted, 16 mass area searches have been done, 3 searches outside of California, and 200 plus tips have been received and followed up on, but still, the boys have not been located. Then month after month, the community continued to come together with prayer vigils and hoping for answers for the boys. But December, nearly 1 year after they were first reported.
So there it is, Ed. I'm going to leave that up for you to talk a little bit about this. Quite a bit of this is what the district attorney was basically talking about. Obviously, no details. 48 search warrants executed, 116 interviews, 170 items seized. Ed, can you just quickly maybe expand on what that? I mean, I know we touched on it, but 170 items. Are we talking about kids' bedding, pillows?
I mean, it could be anything. So they never made it down from Bakersfield to the second residence. But that doesn't mean that evidence didn't go down there. So there's trace transfer evidence. There's things you can't see with your naked eye, latent forensic evidence. You could get blood on your pants, and if you're wearing dark colored clothes, you wouldn't necessarily be able to distinguish that it's blood. And depending on how cleanly you are and so forth, or your shoes, your socks, whatever the case may be, you may not see it, clean it up, and it's still there. Right. Electronic evidence, the phones, critical, computers, computer searches, anytime you're doing an online search, where you're going to search, what are you searching, all these types of electronic evidence, trying to plot the movements with cell phones and things of that nature. I'm guessing, some type of blunt force trauma attack occurred. There may be blood that was let. So blood could be on furniture, blood can be on clothing, blood can be on carpets and beddings, and so many different things. Instruments, okay. If they use some kind of blunt force instrument, baseball bat or tool, some kind of weapon, and you would search for those things as well and look for hairs and fibers, DNA, blood, and all kinds of forensic evidence.
Could we circle back to trace transfer evidence?
Sure.
Could you just give a layman's term definition? Because I know there's going to be some of our listeners who will be like, what do they mean by trace transfer evidence?
Okay, so we have a principle in science, in forensic science, called Locard's exchange principle. All right, so basically what it says is whenever two objects come together and then separate, they're going to separate with bits and pieces of each other and the location where this all occurred at. So they'll leave bits of their self at the location, and they'll take bits of the location with them, and whoever the other individual was they reacted with, they're going to do the same. They're going to transfer to each of them. So like hair is a trace transfer evidence. Okay, so hair, the average person loses about 75 head hairs a day. And looking at Ron, we can all tell he's above average, folks, right? So I guess it's good to be above average in something. But having said that, so that hair falls out and it lands, and then people's movement then move the hair, and it could land on you. It could be on the seat from the person sat on a seat and then left, but they left their hair behind. And then the next person sat there and then got up and walked away and took the hair with them. That doesn't mean they had any contact, physical contact with the individual. It just means that that type of evidence transferred, such as gunshot residue. Here's another one. I fire a gun and I get gunshot residue on my hand.
Right.
And then I don't wash my hands. And then minutes later, I shake Ron's hand. I just transferred the gunshot residue to Ron's hand. And that is a form of trace transfer. I just transferred it. It doesn't mean Ron fired a shot or was at the scene with me. Okay. So there are different types of evidence like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, shots fired.
There you go.
That's because I did the hair joke and I didn't put my Kevlar on. He shot me in the back, folks.
I had to let a round go. All right, let's continue on with this this illustration here. 27 area searches. Now we saw Bakersfield do the Casa Loma big land search. That was the big and last search that Bakersfield did. It was in 2021. A short time after they took over. So they took over March 1st of 2021. And just a short time later, they were doing a massive land search. But 27 area searches is a significant amount of searches. That includes the California City home on Aspen Drive. It consists of the lots adjacent to where the boys were allegedly, as we know now, is just bullshit. Went out that gate, so they searched. Those are part of the 27 areas. The West family home, I guarantee you, they went back to the Casa Loma apartment. Ed, what's your thoughts? And this would just be guess, and I don't like to do this, but I have to put you on the spot. I'm going full solo layout with you. What is the chances that crime scene and the Bakersfield Police Department, along with the FBI, went back into the newly habited, resident, the new people who came into their residence? I'm trying to say this so people understand what I'm saying. What's the chances of them going into their old apartment with a warrant for looking for any type of evidence? Do you think there's a possibility that happened?
Well, yeah, it's a possibility. Now, they say they vacated that location. New tenants took over. Law enforcement could have asked the tenants for consent to go in there and do their searches for forensic evidence, or they could have obtained the warrant. And because if the new tenant said no, then they would have had to get the warrant anyhow. So They may have gotten the warrant and went in there. Now, if there were attempts to clean up the crime scene, okay, that can be found as well. What are we talking? Carpets? Are we talking tile? What kind of flooring are we talking? Where there we can use luminol. You spoke about luminol before, and they said they searched the vehicle, but you can also search the house. If any kind of crime scene where you felt that blood was let, and you cannot see it with your naked eye anymore at this location, then we use a chemical called luminol. It's an aqueous solution that we mix up, and it causes a chemical luminescence. And what happens is we spray this chemical in where we suspect blood had once been, but yet cleaned up. And if blood is present, even though your best efforts of cleaning it up, there'll still be trace amounts of it there, and the chemical would adhere to the protein, in this case, and then create a blue glow light, like a glow stick. When you crack it open and the two chemicals mix and then it glows. Well, as long as I keep spraying that chemical, it will glow blue back at me to suggest that there's a possibility of that's blood. Now, there are other tests that I can then do to see if in fact it is blood, because copper will cause a chemical luminescence, and certain other chemicals, cleaning chemicals, will cause a chemical luminescence. So we'll swab that area up and get it to the lab real quick and see if they can get the genetic markers out of it, or see if they can find blood is present in the sample we took.
Right. And there could also be a possibility, because anything at this point is on the table, because we have no access to case files or any of the investigation. There could be a possibility that Trezell and Jacqueline murdered these boys outside of the Casa Loma apartment and transferred them in that van or a rental vehicle or some other separate vehicle that we now, 3 months ahead, they had 3 months.
Yeah, but it'd have to be a place that they would have some kind of control over with privacy. And as the indictment says, the kids were involved, so the kids had to have been there too and present at the time.
Right.
I would think the house would offer that much safer environment for a bad guy. It wasn't obviously safe for the kids, but safe for them to commit such a heinous crime. And then, there's other things like, carpets absorb blood, materials for your sofas. If, what kind of flooring do you have? Do you have hardwood flooring? Do you have engineered flooring? Do you have any type of tongue and groove flooring? Because blood is liquid and it will seek gravity's low point. And it'll get down into those crevices and you can't see it with your naked eye. You'll clean the top surface, but I can pull up those floorboards and find that blood underneath there.
Right. And we see these shows on TV where they go in and they turn on that blue light and then you could see blood.
Well, blood, not necessarily blood, but because the alternate light source, you're talking about, in this case, a UV light. If you use UV, and it can help you find blood, typically, if you tried to paint a wall surface that had blood on it and you tried to paint over it, what happens is you can use the UV light. The alternate light source has multiple wavelengths, and you dial it into UV, and you can shine it on the wall. And if blood was behind there, blood absorbs UV and turns black. Okay, just like on your skin, what I talked about in the past. If someone was strangled, initially you won't see the bruises of the strangulation until a day or two in the if they were murdered in the refrigerator at the morgue, and then they pop up later. But I can do it at the scene and examine them with the UV light and also a thermal imager and find that blood is pooling underneath the skin before it makes its presence visible. Now with the again, the UV light, if again there were attempts to clean up and I could shine that light on the surface, if it turns black in the presence of UV, then I would then break out the luminol, test that. And there are other tests I could use, other chemical tests that I can use to determine if human blood is present.
Wow. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things in the toolbox.
That's correct. That's correct. And the same thing with tools, weapons, anything like that. I'll have to search it. I may not see blood on it, but if I do perform these tests on it, it was a famous case in China, believe it or not, and it was a horrific homicide that was committed on a farmer by somebody who used a hand sickle. A farming sharp edge, rounded kind of half moon, sharp knife type situation. And so it's historically in our forensic history, and that we brought this up. And the superintendent of police gathered all the farmers and made them all bring their sickles out in the public square, and he made them sit them all on a table. And there was one that all the flies were attracted to, but the others, the flies didn't go to, because the one the flies went to had blood on it.
There you go.
Okay. I mean, it was a famous case, very historic case.
We got to talk about that one time. I want to say quickly thank you to Leslie P. for the $20 super chat. She says, I was so blessed to be adopted by amazing parents. It's a crime that these boys were not so fortunate. Amen to that. And it's a shame. Let's celebrate the great adoptive parents and those parents brave enough to relinquish their children when needed. Amen. That's a great comment. Thank you for the $20 super chat. And that comment, I'm really, really impressed, Leslie, and thank you for sharing your personal story with us.
And that's why these things are so tragic, because these kids didn't get to live their lives. They didn't get to fulfill, what they were destined to fulfill, whatever that was. These two kids could have been the people that cure cancer. We'll never know now,
right?
Because they weren't given the opportunity to live their lives. And Real with Robo, yes, you can mask the death smell or putrefaction with chemicals and other agents that could make the dogs miss.
Thank you for that super chat as well. We've come to recently find out Real with Robo is a female. I was calling Real with Robo a guy for a long time, and I got put in my place once again. So thank you for that. Let's put this back up on the screen and let it continue. 4 out-of-area searches, 48 search warrants executed.
What do you think about the out-of-state searches? Are they landfills? Did you think they went to landfills out of the state?
Listen, there's a landfill right by Casa Loma. I come to find this out through speaking with Roro and some of the people who are local there, Jennifer Nobles. I would have to say yes. They had to have gone to that local landfill in Bakersfield, and then maybe some outside of the state. You're talking about 4 out-of-state searches in addition. I'm interested to hear about that, and I think we'll hear about that at trial. So it'll be interesting. Just a lot of information here. I'm going to let the rest of this play so we get this all squeezed in the hour that we have. We're already at.
Listen, no one can say that law enforcement did not do their job.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
And there was so much, everybody is always like ready to be the Debbie Downer and say, police, they just gave up. The law enforcement aren't doing their job. It's so easy to jump on that bandwagon. And so many in this case and many others, I'm not just pointing out this case, but I've covered so many here on YouTube where the masses just, it's like a pile-on effect. Everybody just says, oh, yeah, law enforcement, they suck. They don't do their job. They're not doing this. We come to find out here, there's a tremendous amount of work, and there's going to be more work that we were going to hear about at trial. That's going to be hopefully impressive to the point where a jury is going to find and come back with a guilty verdict. Linda Williams, thank you for the super sticker, $5. Appreciate that. Much love. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm hoping, after interviewing the children, they've got leads, got warrants to try to obtain some of the things maybe the children told them about at location and so forth.
Yeah.
To corroborate their statements.
And you and I, Ed, we feel strongly that a great deal of the either witnesses or someone who has actually witnessed the crime is going to fall in the lap of the 4 children who were there. Mm-hmm. And they're of different varying ages. And again, we're trying to keep it tight-lipped about that because, privacy and things of that nature. Marsha, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. And there was another person who became a member. Thank you for the memberships. Those are important, and it helps to keep this great community that we have here going and helps us to help other people. So that's a great thing. Heidi Zip, thank you for the Canadian $2.79. Don't have much at this time, but thank you, DutyRon. Every penny counts. So thank you. I value it. Ed and I do value it.
Thank you, Heidi.
Yes, thank you. Let's continue with this so we have enough time. We're already at the 34-minute mark. Let's let the rest of this play, Ed, and then we'll move on to talking about a couple other things.
Missing, BPD provided an update saying since June, they executed 4 more search warrants, interviewed 33 more people, conducted 11 mass area searches, and 4 out-of-state searches. During the 1-year anniversary, we spoke to the biological family who said they just want answers.
Some kind of answers. It's been a year. We deserve something.
Yes, yes.
That's. I mean, it's only right.
Orson's biological father saying regardless of the circumstances, he will always be here for the boys.
I still got them. They should know that I still love them, that I'm always going to have their backs regardless of the fact those are my kids. Like, you know, that's something that you'll miss in life that you can never get back.
Now, just 14 months after they were first reported missing, the Kern County grand jury indicted the adoptive parents, Trezell and Jacqueline West, for the murder of Orrin and Orson West. They were arrested March 1st around 7 p.m. near Highway 58 in Enos Lane. Kern County District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer announcing Wednesday the investigation unveils that the boys are dead. But Zimmer added that the bodies have not been found, and now the family is still searching for answers.
Question is now, where are the boys' bodies? We want to be able to bring them home and, give them a proper burial.
How you might be.
Yeah, so there was Roro, and that, I'm telling you, that was a overview from the beginning to the end. They left out a couple of things. Somebody in the chat brought up, and I want to touch on this, Ed, before we go forward. And I don't like to sway off, but this is not swaying us off from what we want to talk about. It involves evidence. Over at the grandparents, over at Wanda West's home, there was a conversation and talk about a large fire after September or somewhere around that time, where we now know, according to the district attorney, September 1st to September 30th of 2020 is when this crime occurred. There's been so much conversation about this big bonfire where Bakersfield Police Department, which is a paid fire and police, both responded. Their paid fire department, just like our FDNY, they responded to a large fire in the backyard. And there's been talk amongst the YouTube streets, Facebook streets, that they burned these children's body in an open fire. Now, I know, right? Just let me. Let's not poo-poo it right away. I worked for a funeral home after I retired, and I know a lot of funeral directors who are personal friends of mine. I'm going to bring one of them on here to talk about this. But I'm going to tell folks right now that I spoke to one of my really good friends who is a licensed funeral director here in New York. And he said it takes 4 to 5 hours at 1,800 to 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit to cremate and burn a body beyond recognition to get it to cremation status. Now, these boys are little babies. It may take a little less time, but you need that constant heat of 1,800 to 2,200. Ed, can a fire in a backyard reach those temperatures?
Typically not. Okay. This happens a lot, and I've seen it. We recovered partially. Look, let's just put it this way. I've been to numerous crime scenes in New York City where they attempted to set they killed somebody and then set the apartment on fire in an effort to try to, cover up the crime and burn the body up. You have to maintain these temperatures for such a long period of time in an open fire. Now, you're going to talk about a crematorium that your friend will come on and talk about. That's a closed fire environment. It's a totally different system. It's gas driven fire. It's not like an open flame that you have to constantly keep feeding some kind of accelerant and wood and something to burn to keep those temperatures up. And now, and we're not talking, and what are we talking about? A fire pit here? It's totally different. Okay. Yeah. It's highly unlikely that that's going to occur.
Right. But, again, there's arguments and people talk about evidence being burned in that backyard.
That could happen. Absolutely.
A car seat, a seat from there was
you transported the kids in the vehicle and their blood got on the seats or something, and right. you couldn't clean it up thoroughly enough or knew how to do it, so you decided to burn the whole seat. Yeah, then that's right. A possibility.
There was a whole actual seat missing from the back of that white van, and people feel that they took it and burned it in the back. But the metal from the chair, those Ford
frames,
the frame of. Yeah, that would be there. But again, if the fire department wasn't looking for it, they weren't looking for these boys at the time. Again, the units that responded to that fire did not have, well, actually, maybe the police did, but the fire department probably didn't know what was going on and didn't know what to look for. But
Yeah.
again, you know, it's a far cry from, you know, it's a possibility, but I really don't see that, you know, again, evidence maybe, yeah. These aren't the best of people. These are shady people, and I could say that with extreme conviction. If you can sit at home and concoct up a story that your kids went missing from a gate, and then go about your business for a total of 14 months without ever once losing an ounce of sleep or coming out and trying to put a show on. I mean, that takes a special kind of sick, evil person to do that.
Hey, you remember? You should remember this when we were on the job. One of the things, folks, that we used to see time and time again from real bad perpetrators of crime is that when they got arrested, and it's not the first time they got arrested, so they've been in the system numerous times. They know how it's all going to play out. If you put an innocent person in a holding cell in a precinct detective squad room, an innocent person would be climbing the walls, pacing back and forth, declaring their innocence, and asking, you know, to speak, you know, because they want to speak, because they want the detective to believe that they're innocent.
Right.
But the guilty, they go on a bench and fall asleep. Seen it time and time again.
Yeah.
Okay.
These evil folks can just commit these crimes and just go about their business like nothing happened. And again, it's for us. We can't really process that. It's like hard to understand that. But you know, some people just don't have a conscience. You know, I feel that Jacqueline, out of the two of them, is the only one that they have a chance to crack now, sitting in the slammer.
And we had a case just like that back in New York in the day. Remember, in the late 80s, early 90s. What was it? Joel
Steinberg.
Steinberg, yes, and Jill, right? And they killed their daughter, Heather
Nussbaum, or Heather Nussbaum.
Yeah, Heather Nussbaum, yeah.
Yeah.
And they killed their 4-year-old.
Let me get to these super chats and new members. Let me say thank you to Billy Ryan for the $20 super chat. He says, hopefully the forensic case is so strong that they can get the perps to roll over.
Amen, Billy. Amen.
Yep. And I want to say thank you to Sherry Gonzalez for becoming a channel member. Much appreciated. Much love. $19 came in from Mimi Viz. That's our good friend. She's awesome. She says, my apologies if I asked already. What are the chances of a trial not being open to the public?
Yeah, I don't think that's a possibility.
Yeah. You know, having a trial not open to the public, I don't recall many. Yeah, that's just,
you'd have to have extreme circumstances there. But I mean, I could see it not being on like television, not being televised. Yes.
Right. But these are public events, and you're going to have that's not going to happen. We're going to know about what happens day to day. We may not have cameras in the courtroom. Cameras in the courtroom is a judge's individual decision. So that is a whole nother story. Barb Norbaum, thank you for the $20 super chat. Let me just get to some of these other ones. Somebody else became a Mary. Okay, Sherry, I got to that. All right, I got it. I got everything. All right. So again, it's a possibility that car seats were burned. You know, bits of evidence, clothing, bedding.
You know, once, like in a car seat, if it's a cloth car seat and the cloth covers foam, and if blood gets soaked in there, it's very difficult to get rid of. Okay. You know, you could spray chemicals on it, but it's so much in there that it's very difficult. So there is a possibility. Yes. Okay. Maybe that could have occurred in a backyard fire, but not a body. You're not going to dispose of 2 young bodies like that. You'd have to be out there, thousands of degrees of temperature for 4, 5, 6 hours, feeding that fire, fueling that fire to keep it going to the point that it will turn everything into ash.
Yes. I want to say thank you to Leslie for sending in an order for 5 EquiSearch bracelets. I just got notification. She sent in $55 through the website. So Leslie, I am going to mail Monday morning 5 bracelets and a little bit of something extra. Anybody that orders these bracelets in a batch of 5 gets a special gift from yours truly. I can't tell you what it is, but it's something really special. And it's definitely not a piece of my hair. That's for sure. So I'm going to send that out to you Monday. Leslie, thank you. I don't want to give up your last name, but you know who you are. Thank you for sending in the payment for 5 of the EquiSearch wristbands. Goes straight to them. $50 goes right to the organization. That brings me, now that I'm talking about this brings me to the next point. Dave Rader and I had a conversation on the 1st when Jacqueline and Trezell were arrested. He immediately reached out to me, and Dave and Twyla both we had conversations. It was text conversation with Twyla, but it was voice conversation with Dave. And I immediately said to Dave, will EquiSearch come and try to find these boys' remains if asked? And you know what this man said?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He said if Bakersfield or the FBI or any of the groups reach out to us, we'll make it happen. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, what's going on right now, and I know things are probably pretty hectic there. They're getting a case together and in pending trial, the pending trial coming up. So I think that maybe over the summer or sometime in the near future, if that's a possibility, Dave Rader and his team are ready to search for our boys. So
let's just hope. The DA did not overcharge in this case. Okay.
Yes.
So they don't have, and then of course of the moratorium by that person who calls himself a governor in California, shielding the death penalty from people like this. There's nothing hanging over their head to assist in saying, hey, like if their death penalty was there, hey, if you don't, you want to get out of the death penalty, we'll give you life in prison if you tell us where the bodies are.
Right.
What did you do with the bodies? Right. I mean, like, and hopefully, they've come to the realization now that they're in a no-win situation. It's over for them. They're caught. They're busted. They know what they did. All right. And they know who a lot of the witnesses are, because apparently they threatened them. Okay.
I think the good news, though, Ed, is that Jacqueline is not a career criminal. Trezell, I don't know his arrest history. I never cared to look it up.
Well, I can't see that he has much, because he was a licensed armed security guard. I mean, you can't have a job like that and carry a weapon if you're a convict.
Right. But it doesn't mean that you live in your life right, obviously.
Right.
So Amanda says, DutyRon, do you think the gag order is going to be upheld or made? And my answer to that is yes. I think that the judge is going to say yes for the integrity of the trial and for the proceedings to go forward without any snafus. Ed, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's to protect the kids, because a lot of the evidence is going to be dealing with the kids' confessions or the kids' interviews.
Which brings us to what we spoke about before we went live. I think it's so important that the 50 people who were subpoenaed and part of the witness, witness statements, witness testimony before the grand jury, to put crazy glue. Don't do this, but to glue the mouth shut, to kind of keep it tight-lipped. Do not speak about it. Do not talk about it to friends. Do not talk about it to your family. Just keep your mouths closed.
Yeah, let's not do anything to jeopardize this trial, and that includes us. That includes people that are so angry right now. Don't go to the courthouse on their appearances and create such a controversy that they can't get a fair jury, and then a mistrial is declared or anything like that. Let's get these people into court. Let's get them tried and convicted, and let's get these boys found and buried.
If that was, God forbid, happen, that would be a travesty of justice. That would be just the worst case scenario. So we do not want that to happen at all costs. Christian Lennon, you could go straight to DutyRon.com. There's a clickable link to join if you're having problems. I think the folks who have iPhones cannot join directly from YouTube. They have to go to a separate link, or if one of my mods can put it in the chat for him to jump on, that would be great. I want to just say quickly, I have a special guest who has been kind enough to grace us with his presence. And again, a lot of you guys know him. He's the director of EquiSearch Midwest, Dave Rader, joining us on a Friday night. Hello, Dave.
Good to see you. Cincinnati kid.
Hi, fellas. Sorry for the late invite, but here I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I sent you that invite with a disclaimer that it was not necessary, or I know if you were busy, I said, you don't have to come. But
I'm never too busy.
I just told the folks about the conversation about the boys, and I know that it's a bittersweet moment, and EquiSearch has been involved in so many of the cases that are similar to this. You don't usually get twins, but you and myself and Twyla and Tim Miller and so many of our professionals came on and spoke about these boys. Now that we have the parents, the adoptive parents in custody, it's just, again, bittersweet. You want to hope for a slither of hope that they were somewhere, or sold, or just being kept by somebody else and came home alive. We held on to hope. But again, as part of the EquiSearch team, you guys see this, the importance of supporting the family after the fact, just like what you guys do for so many of the cases that you've covered, and just being there for the family. You want to just talk a little bit about, you and I spoke briefly as this was going on, and I had said to you, hey, if the police call you guys to come back to search for the remains of these boys. Let's say they get a tip and they know that. I mean, there's many Saturdays I spoke to you. I got a job. I got to go dig with the Cincinnati police, or whatever. EquiSearch gets the call. Bakersfield. They say, come and help us. What does Dave Rader do?
Get on the phone and I book my flight, the first availability that I can get out there and put boots on the ground. So. Again, I have a search in the morning for a 9-year-old girl that was murdered, basically 23 years ago, that we're still looking for to this day. So, with both of these individuals that are in police custody now, to do the right thing and say, hey, this is the story. Where are they at? Let's go ahead and get them recovered, so the rest of the family can sit there and have a place to sit there and go to visit.
Have a proper burial. I get this.
Absolutely.
This is one of the reasons why I love Dave Rader and EquiSearch Midwest, because you guys heard there was no wavering there was not even a thought when I asked him, what does EquiSearch do? He says, I book my flight the next day. Dave, Real with Robo sent the super chat in, and she says, DutyRon, could one of the family members give EquiSearch permission to search, or does it have to be one of the agencies? Dave, I'll let you take that, because that is right up your alley.
So basically, families can request us, but ultimately we go off of law enforcement. So again, the reason why is because that we are an organization that prides ourselves on doing the right thing and crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And the thing that we don't want to do is jeopardize the case. So with us being involved with law enforcement, that gives us the credibility and to know that we're doing things the right way, so nobody does has an excuse to sit there and get off on a crime.
Right. So again, it's not just the family, and Ed and I are well versed in the procedure and how that has to go. Again, I brokered back and forth with conversations with Bakersfield Police Department to get our drone guys to come and search for the boys. Over 8,600 pictures along the Kern River looking for these boys. Now that we have somebody in custody, we could talk about it. It's not part of the case, but EquiSearch spent, a great deal of time. The drone pilots spent a great deal of time in Kern County searching for our boys. And I thank you and your organization, Gene Robinson, and everybody who put that together. Dave, you guys are just an invaluable source for cases like this, and I just can't say enough good about you guys. Ed, I know you agree.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I'm so glad that we were able to help out with that little fundraiser that we did and get them the money, because folks, these people are doing this out of their own pockets. Okay. So the more support we can give them, the better.
And again, Ed, I am so grateful to what you and Ron has brought to the table in representing this organization. And again, it kind of takes the burden off of us when we do travel. That's something that we don't have to worry about now for a little bit of time. So again, my hat goes off to all your listeners and everybody that's in this family, and that's what I consider it is, one big family.
Yeah, one true crime family. That's correct.
Absolutely.
And if anybody has noticed, I did a wardrobe change as soon as I got myself off the screen. I grabbed my EquiSearch hat and I put it on. I have it hanging right in my studio proudly here.
And we got to get you one of these so we can. It's almost like me and Ron are like bookends to you. So I mean, we need to get you some merch.
I got to rock the hat. So
absolutely.
Let me move that over so he doesn't feel like a bookend. Now that you said that.
Yeah. Well, you guys aren't twins. I'll just tell you that. All right.
Now I'm the monkey in the middle.
Neither was Danny DeVito and Arnold
Schwarzenegger, right? Yeah. It's Hulk Hogan and I don't know who DutyRon is.
Dave, as you were coming on, somebody purchased 5 of these wristbands off the website. So $50 of fundage is going straight to this great organization right here with Dave Rader. And thank you, Leslie, for the purchase of the Lost Is Not Alone. We got the Gabby Petito Foundation as well. I wear both of these. I sleep with them. I sleep with these on because they're they're the rubberized. You can even use them. You can have them in the shower. You don't even have to take them off. So thank you so much for the support for EquiSearch. But now, again, Dave, over the course of 14 months, I've been speaking about this case. It's near and dear to me. I have sent out the fundage through the channel for the billboards. I know we keep talking about it, but it was a great thing that we did to keep their faces alive, to keep their names alive, to keep the story alive out in the media. We had America's Most Wanted profiled these boys and did a couple of stories. Court TV. It was national and international. These boys became the children of the world. These 2 boys, and Mark Class, who's another guy who's from a search group just like you guys. It's a top-notch group. He came on and talked about Polly Class, his daughter, and he said, it's important that you keep speaking about these cases. You keep having them in the spotlight. And he also said something that really mirrors what you and Tim always say, is that if the parents do not talk and try to clear themselves up front, it's something to really be concerned with. And I know you don't get involved in these investigations and stuff like that, but with Trezell and Jacqueline West, they had no concern for being in the spotlight. They wanted to just stay out of the spotlight as much as they can. When you see that in the, I'm just not asking you about these particular people, but when you see that, do you see that in your cases that you have, or do you generally have the families embracing you and coming and trying to help you to give you as much information about missing? Just want you to talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I mean, when you have, again, that would be if I had kids and I was into the same thing as like, look, let's go ahead, let's clear me, let's get this out of the way so we can get on to the meat and potatoes of this. We're not going to sit there and let's just get this out of the way. And when somebody doesn't want to, clear their name immediately, that throws up red flags to me. Again, you go back to the Summer Wells case, and with those 2, they wasn't really going out there and searching for their child. They wasn't pleading and they were too busy doing other things that wasn't even related. So to me, when you have that, it's almost like deception. So you clear them. Let's move on to where we can eliminate that and move on to the next episodes. But again, when they don't do that, that throws up a lot of concern to me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
100%.
And there was a question in the chat about this. How many of these types of cases are out there? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of these cases just like this. I've had a few here in New York City. We have the Summers case. We have the case in New Hampshire that are going on right now. And the parents on both of these cases are not behaving normally.
Yeah.
Right? If you report somebody missing and it's your child, I'd move heaven and earth to go find my child.
Right.
Okay. And as Dave said, if they're not looking to clear their name, there's something wrong here.
Yeah, we'd all be shouting from the rooftops. I know, Dave, you're not a parent, but you are a human being. You have a heart. You care about humanity. You care about fellow, humans. So, if you don't have a heart and you're callous, you're criminal, then you don't come out. And I had Dan Ribicoff, who's a polygraph expert. I also had Michael De La Pena, who is a retired FBI polygraph expert, and they both analyzed the interview with Trezell and Jacqueline West, and they found, not only did they find deception, but they found that they were disconnected from calling their children by their names. They referred to them as they or these boys, and a lot of the things that Dan and our experts were pointing out were that they disconnected themselves so much from them. And to sit for 13 minutes with your arms folded under your armpits and your wife swaying like the Eiffel Tower, it was just such an oddity. It's so odd. Neil with Robo sends a super chat for you, Dave, and says, "Hey, this is for Dave, an endless source of hope. Can we get a hat and where? Ed, do you have social media and where?" It's for you guys. I might as well just click off of this thing.
I have no social media. Some of the work I do overseas is not very advantageous for what I do, so I don't have it.
Dave, do you sell these hats on your Facebook site or on EquiSearch?
Yeah, we go onto either the EquiSearch website, or we can get it through Facebook, through the shop, I believe. And then as soon as you do the necessary things to secure that, then usually it goes out within a day or two, shipped right to your house.
And that's our customer service agent, Linda, is on that, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
Hey,
And
Ron,
then and this the hats that we're wearing is actually out of Texas, but the ones that we had made actually is EquiSearch Midwest.
Yeah, these are great hats too. It's got Tim Miller's initial there, but the EquiSearch Midwest hats, I'm still waiting for mine, folks. So just so you know, I have a front row seat, and I'm still waiting. So.
Yep.
Yeah, there's somebody.
It's coming.
There's somebody in the chat room saying, "You owe me a hat."
So we owe a couple of people hats. So
yeah,
send me.
Just get that information to me, and we'll get those right out.
Send it to Dave, or send it over to DutyRon.com, and we'll.
Yeah, from the fundraiser, apparently. Okay.
Yes. So we don't want to forget about that, because Dave, you mentioned that to me just the other day.
Yeah, I want to make sure that the people that, when we did the fundraiser, I wanted to make sure that, that they get their hats in a timely fashion. So just make sure that you get with DutyRon. DutyRon will get me the information, and then we'll get those out to you immediately.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. And while we're here, all three of us, we're at the hour mark, so we're going to wrap it up soon. I want to shift gears for a minute, Ed, with you. And I know Dave is, I'm not going to drag him into this, but Dave can hang out with us for it. So as we speak, Trezell and Jacqueline West are in the lockdown in Kern County, right? One is at the female, as you said, facility. One's at the male. They have time now to sit and think about what they did. I want to circle back with you with Summer Wells' case. We have Don Wells and Candace Wells acting like fools. The same garbage bullcrap story that we would say,
"Oh, hell no.
We're not buying it. We're not buying their story." Don and Candace Wells, do you think, he's in jail. He's sitting in the Hawkins County jail. His wife is out. and probably shitting a brick right now because she's looking at this case. She's on YouTube. She may be very well watching us right now. What do you think her thought process is right now? You think she's saying to herself, "Oh shit, this is going to be me in a year's time"?
I hope so, and I hope she thinks long and hard about this, and finds Jesus and goes and gives up exactly what happened.
Because people know. I feel that there's 2, possibly 3 people, maybe even a 4th piece that knows what happened to Summer Wells. Listen, we're not stupid, and I'm going to stick to my guns on this. I feel that both parents know exactly what happened, and probably the grandmother and probably that kid that they took out to the watering hole, Hunter. So at the end of the day, this is a good preview for Candace and Don. Don's already in the clanker, not for obviously for his daughter, but he's got time to sit and think. But I had to bring this up because this is a conversation. She is on. There is 100%. There is no doubt in my mind that Candace is watching YouTube and watching this unfold.
One of our internet sleuths are telling us right now she's on now live.
That's great. Anyways, let me say thank Dave. See how good I am. I'm a good friend. I did not drag you into this. I just let you be here for it. Jacker's girl.
I'll go down the rabbit hole with you two any day of the week.
Yeah, I know you will, but I'm not gonna drag you into this shit show. Jacker's girl sends in a $5 super chat. Listen, we have 2,400 people watching right now. Thank you, Jacker's girl, for the super chat. I want to say thank you to Real with Robo for becoming Real with Robo. Christian Lennon for becoming a channel member again. Thank you for coming back aboard. And if I missed anybody, I apologize because the chat is running kind of quick. I don't have the chat on slow mode right now. But listen, we appreciate all the support. Here's Jen Nobles from Bakersfield. This is the great friend of mine who inspired me to start supporting and doing those billboards. She says, "Thank you, Dave, Ed, and Ron, for everything you've done and still continue to do. I am wondering if EquiSearch would come back to Bakersfield now to help." Jen, you obviously haven't been paying attention to this conversation because we just spent a half hour talking about it. Yeah. But yes, do you still have to get permission now? And now that they've been charged? Dave, I'll let you take that, even though you answered it already. Jen, you're late to the party.
That's all right, Jen. I was too. So absolutely. As I told Ron and Ed before, I would, if law enforcement would contact me tonight, I would see what flight I had out first thing tomorrow morning to come out and assist on looking for the 2 boys. Absolutely. So we're still here. But the mission has not been completed, only for the simple reason, just because those 2 are in custody doesn't mean that we still don't have those 2 boys. And that's still our objective is to find those 2 and put the nail in the coffin, as they say.
Yeah. Amen to that, brother. And Jen, again, I was just breaking your chops. I love you. I think you're a wonderful. You're what if we had a whole bunch of Jen Nobles running around, this world would be a lot better of a place. She's got her heart, Dave. She's the female version of you. She's got a huge heart. She'll do anything for anybody, and she does stuff and gets herself in trouble at home. So she spends too much time on YouTube and looking at stuff with the boys. So somebody's getting a call. That's probably Big Dave. He's probably yeah. All right. So let me go to the chat for a couple of questions, if you guys don't mind. Ed, are you checking with your stockbroker right now? Is the Hang Sang still open?
No, nothing like that. Billy Ryan is asking me to give him a shout.
Oh, okay. Give him a shout. So quickly, Freethinker Deb says, "Thank you, DutyRon, Ed, Dave, and chat. Great live. Have a good night. God bless." Thank you, Freethinker Deb, and thank you for being a member. Let's look at the chat quickly because so many people have questions. Just keep the questions pertaining to Jacqueline and Trezell. Evidence collection. That's what we were talking about tonight. We really didn't get into the luminol part, but we'll save that.
We did.
but in details, some of the people wanted to know, in what cases is it used, and I think you did cover that. You did. So hold on, wait a minute. Jen says something else. I need to tell you what the call was about, DutyRon. It's important for later after the live.
Okay.
Oh, geez. All right. Very good. All right. I'm just checking quickly. Let me say thank you to Diane B. That's my neighbor across the street. She's a moderator. She's a snow blower. She takes care of my snow. She does the snow removal for me. She breaks my balls every second she gets. So I love you, Diane. Thank you for being a great friend and neighbor. I got to always give the shout outs to the mods. The mod squad is great, as you know. Jocelyn, Dave, I want to tell you about Jocelyn. She is in Pennsylvania. A single mom, great woman. She made stickers that say "Crime Time with DutyRon," like bumper stickers and transparent, like kind of stickers. And she's going to be helping me do a fundraiser with that for you guys. So,
Wow.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for coming up with those ideas. I can't wait to see them. She's going to mail me a couple of samples, and we're going to use that as a fundraiser to generate money for EquiSearch. Let's see what else. And these are just the fans. These are the subscribers and friends of Crime Time with DutyRon coming up with these ideas. And I got to say this. I want to tell everybody, on the day that Jacqueline and Trezell were arrested, the day before it all broke, Jackie Vineyard from Oregon, she's on the West Coast, she called me and she said, Ron, I want to make shirts with the boy's face on it so we can generate money for the billboards. So she started an idea with me that day to make the shirts. Now we don't have to do the billboards anymore. So, but I'm just saying that's just some of the goodness that comes out of Crime Time with DutyRon. So it's a lot of good people here, and I appreciate all of this.
So Rose just asked a question: if the boys are found, given there's possibly skeletal remains, what kind of evidence can be found? And it's going to be anthropological evidence. You'll see signs of abuse, broken bones. They'll look for those types of things. Now it depends on how they would dispose. Then again, if don't like to mention it over and over again, especially with the little kids, if the critters got to them and so forth. But it'll be a full-blown anthropological investigation of each and every bone that they can find and determine if they can substantiate blunt force trauma injuries or knife injuries or some kind of weapon or so forth.
Right. Thank you for that, Ed. I'm going to put this one on while you're full screen. Somebody said, Patty L says, are you going to keep the billboards up, DutyRon, to find the boys? I think those billboards were up to try to find out what happened to them. We now know what happened to them, and I don't feel that there's any advantage to keeping $1,000 a month billboard up when I could take that $1,000 and donate it to the family to make a memorial or to bury the remains if and when they're found. And if the remains are not found, we will certainly fund a memorial bench or a memorial plaque of some sort, or any idea that the biological family, Roro, I'm putting this out towards her publicly, that I would be happy and honored to fund a memorial for Sincere and Classic, our boys from California City.
Mm-hmm.
So you heard that first here on Crime Time with DutyRon. Yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up. We had so much more. I had so many more things that I wanted to play, but since Dave Rader came and stole the show, we got a little sidetracked. Dave, what do you got working with EquiSearch? You said you have a search tomorrow, and you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've got for Dayton. Oh, it's in Dayton, Ohio, for a case that's 23 years old. Little 9-year-old Erica Baker was hit by a van. And instead of them taking her to a hospital, they disposed of the body, and he has not told us where he put her. So through some of the investigation, we're working with law enforcement closely to eliminate some areas, and we've got a pretty good area tomorrow to look into. And then after that, it's St. Louis on the 19th. for a case. And then after that, I believe Twyla has something that is in Jonesboro, Arkansas, on the 26th that we're working on too. So every weekend seems to be pretty much packed up. It's a never ending feat.
Wow. You guys keep yourselves busy, and I know it because we talk so much. And the only other person that's busier than you guys is Ed Wallace. He travels all over the place, and he's teaching. He's teaching law enforcement about weapons of mass destruction, about crime scene and evidence collection. And I got to tell you, you know, the things that Ed does, I don't know how he does it, but he stays busy and he travels all over the place.
Yeah, this month I'm going to be all over the place. I'll be in Rhode Island. I'll be in Tennessee, and I'll be in Boston, and then I'll be in some secret squirrel locations.
What part of Tennessee are you going to be in, Ed?
Nashville.
Nashville?
Mm-hmm.
That's only 4 hours from me, so that may work out.
Okay.
I feel guilty because at the end of the month, I'm going to go down if spring training ever commences and go down to Florida for a little bit and see my friend. So I'll be in Miami towards the end of the month. If anybody's in that Miami area, hit me up. I'd love to come out and shake some hands and have an adult beverage with some of the fans.
And don't forget behind me.
Oh yeah, Ed, so you talk about it. I'm going full screen with you. You got this whole it's the Ed Show. Can you tell people what that is behind you, that big mountain coming out of your head?
Yes, that's a volcanic mountain in the island of Bora Bora, where I spent a week's vacation there, which I got at Costco. It was a really good deal that I booked over a year ago, but because of COVID and all the restrictions and everything, the vacation got pushed off. But I'm glad it came when it came because, you know, after, you know, getting sick and recovering and all that, man, I needed it. And let me tell you, there's no better place in the world to you can escape to and just suck in the natural beauty of God's handiwork behind you. And you can really just shut the world out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, occasionally I would jump on the internet to see, you know, because my phone would go off and I'd get your messages over to Ron's on. Okay. And then I would pick it up. But other than that, I didn't make phone calls. I didn't speak to anybody.
Was this an actual view of your outside your residence there?
No. Well, let me get out of the way. I had one of the huts that had a direct view of that mountain on the opposite side. Okay. This is the sunset side. I had the sunrise side. So the sunrise comes over that mountain. And so I had a hut that was facing directly at that mountain. And it was just fabulous.
How the hell do you call that a hut when it looks like bigger than somebody's apartment?
Well, it's a tiki hut, right? That's what they call it. But it's bigger than some suites that I've been in hotel rooms. I'll tell you that much. I have pictures. Yeah, I sent them pictures. It has at the foot of the bed. So you got this king size bed inside there, but at the foot of the bed is this glass box that allows you to look straight down into the water underneath your tiki hut, and you can see all the fish swimming underneath you. I mean, it was just fabulous. It was on my bucket list. I always wanted to do it, and I'm so happy I did it.
I think Denise Spalding just sent you $100 because she knows that you're broke right now after you went to freaking Bora Bora for a week. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you.
I'm telling you, folks, if you've never traveled, look up Costco Travel. They're really good. I mean, I couldn't believe this deal.
Yeah. That's amazing. My wife and I hope to get there for our 35th wedding anniversary. So we're going to be looking into possibly going there to completely disconnect. And that's coming up in, we're going to be celebrating our 31st this month on the 23rd. So, you know, in a couple of short years, we'll be, you know, heading down to Bora Bora. Fiber Fruzi's Crafts. So here she is. She, I'm going to go full screen with me. She knitted me a hat. So let me go solo. Let me take off my EchoSearch hat. And it says DutyRon on it, DR. And it's got the blue line, the fire. And it keeps me warm. I look kind of silly in it. My wife laughed at me when I put it on. But thank you, Jill, Fiber Floozy. And she sent me a beautiful card. And I want to just, one more thing. Hold on. I got a Boston hat. I'm a New York Mets fan. So I got this Boston hat, and I want to tell. Oh, hold on a second. I want to thank Kathy Bates. She is awesome. She sent a card to me, Kathy, right? And in an American flag, right? Or, flag card, patriotic. And this all came to the P.O. box the other day. And inside the card, she sent one for Joey Brooklyn on the loss of his dad. But inside the card was cash. Cash. And part of this cash is for EquiSearch. So I think it's $20 is for EquiSearch. And then the 10 is for the boys. So thank you so much for sending this. But don't ever send cash to the mail. And she put inside the note that she wrote to me, she goes, I know I'm not supposed to send cash in the mail. But she did it. So thank you. Fiber Floozy, thank you for the $10 super chat. She says, thank you guys for all you do. Listen, this has been about Jacqueline and Trezell West and the evidence collection aspect of his case, and Ed has covered that very well. He's an expert in crime scene evidence and recovery. His resume is, I have a whole sheet right here. It's attached to my third monitor, and it consists of one full page and then the back of the page. If I was to read it, we would go an hour and 40 minutes. So let me just close by saying thank you to Ed. Thank you to Dave Rader for coming and hanging out on a Friday night with us. I know you got to be up early. So, Dave, anything for the people in Bakersfield who are hurting, Roro and the biological family and everybody who supports is really hurting right now on this horrible news about how Sincere and Classic has been murdered 3 months in the past from when they reported. So any words for those folks down there?
Never give up hope. As you've seen that, after this length of time, as you can see, law enforcement has never given up on those two boys or the investigation. So, they've got the two main players in this. The only thing that's left now is to find those boys, and hopefully with them being incarcerated, hopefully that somebody grows a heart and comes forward and spills the beans on where those children are. That's the hope that you still have. So it's not what we've come for as far as for the two boys, but again, you have the people that are responsible for that crime behind bars, and now it's just a matter of time before we get the answers that we're all looking for.
Yeah,
they're going down. They're going down, and hopefully they'll try to grow some kind of a conscience and realize the game is up. And it just depends on how far they want to go down. They could stop this right now and tell us where the bodies are.
Yeah. Fess up and tell us what's going on. And, I pray for some type of closure for the family, and closure is not ever possible when you have a situation where a set of remains of two little babies are out there somewhere. One of the investigators, I think it was Chief Walker, said it. We have two unaccounted for toddlers, and they're out there somewhere, and the only people that know where they are is Jacqueline and Trezell, and perhaps some other people that they may have spoken to about it. I'm sending strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the community of Bakersfield, the community of California City, all of the police, men and women who work this case. It tugs on the hearts. We're not just, we're not machines. We're human beings. So I send out strength, prayers, and positive vibes to everybody, but especially the biological family, Roro, the extended family, the people who are down there in Bakersfield who have put in so much effort and so much time. I put myself hundreds of hours, thousands probably of hours dedicated to this case. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who has put that time in. It's just unbelievable when a community comes together and does good. Forget about all the arguments and, things that go on behind the scenes that you don't want to hear about. But let's talk about the good that was going on in the name of these boys, right? So that's the important part. And I want everybody to stay focused on that. And that's really all I could say. Real with Robo says, before you go, DutyRon, hold on, I got to put that on because she sent in another super chat. Before you go, DutyRon, my two teens, a boy and a girl, say hi, Mr. DutyRon. We love you, from Cody and Angel. Well, I feel like Dave feels left out, and so does Ed. Do they love Ed and Dave? I'm only kidding. Thank you, Cody and Angel. Much appreciated. We love you back, all of us, all three of us. All right, guys. As I end them all, God bless the world. God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, especially the troops over in fighting for freedom, and the citizens over in the Ukraine. It's a horrible situation that's going on there, and I think that it's important that we all pray for them and support them. So if you have any free fundage, and there's great places to donate to the cause, you got people that are displaced, and you open up the news and you see families holding on to their kids and crying. It's just terrible. So prayers and strength, positive vibes to everybody, and we will see you on the next one. Jacqueline and Trezell, I hope you don't have one good day going forward for the remainder of your sad, pitiful lives. So, guys, good night from New York, Ohio, and Bora Bora. Edson, Bora Bora. Thank you guys, everybody, for watching. Good night.
Good night, folks.
Good night.